Hello and welcome to another edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. Right off the bat on today's show, Ford showing off their weapon of choice for the 2019 Australian V8 Supercar series, and it's going to be the Ford Mustang. Even though this doesn't look a whole lot like the existing Ford Mustang. My theory on this particular machine is they took the existing Ford Supercar chassis with their existing roll cage and kind of draped this bodywork over the top of it and just said, it's a Mustang. It kind of reminds me a tad bit of the new NASCAR Mustang as well, where it doesn't really look like that particular machine anyway. So the trick is, it's going to be very, very interesting in 2019 to see how well this machine does, even though, man, it's been a long, long time since there's been a two-door vehicle inside the Australian Supercar series. Probably since the 80s or 90s, possibly, maybe. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see just how well this machine does in 2019. Next up on the list, the folks over at Volkswagen are showing off this brand new Volkswagen Tarok concept down in Sao Paulo, Brazil, in conjunction with the Formula One race and the Sao Paulo Auto Show. Now the trick is we don't know a whole lot much about this particular machine. The vehicle's supposed to have a turbocharged diesel engine in it. It's going to have a little bit of Chevrolet Avalanche going on. If you don't know what the Avalanche was, it basically was kind of this truck slash, I don't know, it didn't have a real bed on it. It was a body-on-frame car. And one of its little tricks was the rear seats actually folded down, the rear backlight or back glass could be removed from it, and you kind of gained a little bit more bed space. That's kind of what this vehicle's actually doing as well. Now the trick is it's still just concept form. We'll have to wait and see if Volkswagen actually put this in production, but I think the thing looks really good. Would love to see this thing go in production. Would love to see this with a worldwide release, even though I think it's going to be very limited to certain parts of the world. So we'll definitely keep you in tune with what we hear. Next up on the list, BMW keeps trickling out a little bit more and a little bit more information on the brand new M8 Coupe, the top of the tree in the 8 Series Coupe lineup. They're talking like this vehicle is going to have a high-revving V8 that's going to make north of 600 horsepower. Now, we're assuming this is going to be somewhat of a derivative of the 4.4-liter twin-turbocharged V8 in the M8 Series Coupe that's out existing now. There is talk, too, that its vehicle is going to be all-wheel drive, much like the new M5 is, but it's going to have somewhat of a variable system that could actually be directed completely to two-wheel drive if so desired. There's also been some folks out there reading the tea leaves of this particular information, thinking that this vehicle could have a hybrid system working in it as well, so we'll definitely keep you in tune of what we hear about this machine over the next several weeks. Next up on the list, well, Aston Martin showing off some fantastic new photographs of the new Aston Martin Red Bull love child known as the Valkyrie. Now this vehicle's rapidly approaching getting into customers' hands, but this is the first time we're really going to get to see a very good look at what the production version of this machine is actually going to look like in this very beautiful, beautiful faded two-tone livery that's on the machine right now. If you haven't seen photographs, jump on over to the Facebook page and check them out, because the thing looks really, really good, and it's going to be very interesting to get this thing, see this thing out in the wild, and possibly out doing some head-to-heads with some other hypercars out there. So we cannot wait for that particular deal to go on. Next up on the list, let's talk a little bit about racing, and particularly around Fernando Alonso. Alonso just finished, the day of the taping of this particular program, his last ever Brazilian Grand Prix. Possibly. I could see Mr. Alonso heading back to Formula one day. But the trick is this 2019 season is very, very hazy. There isn't a real idea of where he's going to end up inside of the racing world. There was a lot of talk that there was a possible connection to NASCAR, possible connection to IndyCar, possibly McLaren going back to IndyCar as well to do a full season, but that has already been squashed. But there has been a little piece of the puzzle, and that's where Mr. Alonso will be spending the month of May, as he's actually going to be in Indianapolis, Indiana at the Indianapolis 500 with McLaren. Don't not for sure exactly what team is going to head up this new McLaren race team for his another shot at the Indianapolis 500. We really hope that he does well next year in 2019 in the month of May, but hopefully he gets another seat somewhere. I'm assuming he's getting a lot of offers. And then last up on the list, young Tanner Gray. If you haven't heard of this young guy, the day before the taping of this particular program, he actually clinched his first ever Pro Stock Championship in the NHRA. Now, the reason why we're talking about this, because young Tanner is young indeed, the youngest ever NHRA champion in history at just 19 and a half years old. Yes, what were you doing back when you were 19? I think I was doing a whole lot of nothing back then. Mr. Tanner is now only his second year inside of the NHRA Pro Stock class and did a heck of a job in handling all the pressure in just his second year behind the wheel of one of these amazing straight line machines. The trick is, this is kind of a one and done thing because Mr. Gray is going to be heading off to the world of NASCAR next year. Going to be doing some stock car racing, possibly going to do a handful of NHRA events. He's also a third-generation driver, as his father actually raced in Pro Stock for quite some time, and his grandfather did as well, racing in not only Pro Stock, but also raced a funny car for a long period of time. This is going to be real interesting to see how this kid goes on. There was another interesting little deal at the Pomona race that just happened, just wrapped up a little bit before the taping of this particular program. Every championship driver that won the championship for 2018 actually won the event in Pomona, California. We're talking about Top Fuel, Funny Car, Pro Stock, and Pro Stock Motorcycle. Everyone who clinched a championship actually won the last race of the year, which is hugely impressive. Never been done in the history of NHRA, so that was pretty entertaining as well. And that's all there was that I thought was worth talking about for this edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. Don't forget to like us over on the Facebook page. Links down in the show notes. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, you can do so at any time. Get the first dibs on the brand new shows as soon as they come out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again real soon.